he's actually expressed strategy around this, where he believes that you have to build the American technology path and this extraterrestrial technology path in parallel. Because you can't just wait around and wait for this technology just to be, given to us, and then, everything's going to be solved.
No, we would have to invent the future.
Everybody thinks that the future's just going to be here, it's going to be better. It's like, no, people actually have to build it.
Yeah.
That's something Elon says.
Yeah.
People actually have to build the future. And I feel like Palmer is one of those people that's going to have his hand on the pulse of these new kinds of technologies and these new kinds of ways of doing things that will permeate the rest of...
Yo,
we back.
Yo.
Hopefully y'all can hear us.
Yeah, it's rainy over here in Michigan. But welcome back to another Founders Drive.
Yeah.
Today we're gonna jump right into it. We're talking about Palmer Luckey. This is one that you put on the...
Dude, I love Palmer Luckey's story so far, and he's only what, 35?
Not even, dude, 33.
Yeah, that's
no,
wild.
because we were born in the same year. but
that's actually hilarious.
But yes, let's get into it. You were saying he's seen some shit, and
yeah, just like Palmer is, for anyone who doesn't know,
yes,
he's the founder, well, multiple founders actually, but currently he's leading Anduril, which is an American defense company building drones and technology for the Department of War. Now the Department of War, previously it was like, Secretary of State, stuff like that, Homeland Defense. But the Department of War has awarded him DOD, DOW, whichever one. Because I think it's DOW now, right?
Huh?
I think it's Department of War now.
Change it?
I think so.
Oh, wow.
I think it's at least that's where, you guys are going to be hearing Sam Altman and, the Anthropic CEO battling it out with the Department of War right now. But yeah, he was awarded like $2 billion in contracts so far, and he's just getting started. And so I wanted to talk about him in terms of how he got to where he is, the journey that he's been on.
Yeah, but
and then
let's just jump right into it.
And also, the fact that if you're $2 billion of defense contracts, as a defense contractor, you've seen some stuff that's not public information. You've seen some technology that the U.S. government has that nobody else has ever seen, and he's probably under, some kind of contract not to disclose that because it's classified. Yeah. But that's really exciting to me.
Yeah, but I want you to finish that thought
where
we were when we were talking off camera.
Okay,
like
which
you
one?
Said we were talking about. You said something like he's seen some shit, and I was like, let's turn on the cameras and let's go right there.
I think, like I said,
we were talking about this drone that this autonomous drone. It's the Ghost.
Yeah,
it's one of the products of Anduril. Anduril is a defense products company,
right?
Which is different than typical contractors because the products company, they build products first and then they present them to the Department of Defense, and that's a flip because typically contractors would go and bid for these contracts, they would win the contracts, get paid, and then they would go and try and make these products, which is kind of backwards. And so he took this mindset of, no, I love building products. I love building products for the military. He's very pro-military.
Yes.
He's very pro-America. And he has this very strong mindset and philosophy around taking a stance there. And so he's one of those guys that builds first and then makes his pitch, and he's really, really good at building, really, really good at delivering. And again, we were looking at this product, and it's Ghost 4, I think we were looking at, and it was Jake was showing me this video of the
just what you can do with an RC
around, remote
helicopters,
control. But it's crazy is this one is autonomous and it's networked. And so it's connected to other ones, and I think that's where we were talking about is it's networked. And and you were saying that like even a lot of the police, which I think might actually, scare some people, but the police right now, a lot of cameras that are in like major cities downtown are all using versions of this technology, especially where they're networked. And so I just wanted to plug in that thought first, and then we can kind of jump into the
like giving some more, I guess, information on that. Like people may not be aware, but like most police agencies, especially at the state level, are using Palantir now.
Yeah.
They're like, every time they see a plate number, it's autonomously run through their system. You know, if they get a driver's license or if they get insurance on you, it's gone through Palantir at some point.
What's Palantir?
So Palantir is Peter Thiel's defense company.
That's a name that keeps coming
It does.
up.
It does.
I mean, even more than I recognize.
And it's something that, like, I think the software is good enough. It is meshed together with all of the, you know, the hive mind of, you know, other police databases all over the world. And so, like, it's good technology. I just don't know if people are aware that, like, there are agencies, even in your local state and area, that are using autonomous systems to do their job. And so
when you say networked,
yeah.
like, talk to me about that.
Well, I mean, like, just the basic one, right? Like, if I have your ID, do you have any warrants? There's a database of warrants. Okay, should I pick this guy up and take him to jail, or is he free to go? Like, that's just the basic one, right? But then you can start getting even crazier because, and this is all, you know, what Palantir can do. They're not currently, as far as I'm aware, but, like, they can pull up your Facebook account. They can pull up your X account. They can pull up stuff on social media that isn't tied to you running a red light to decide how they want to handle the traffic stop.
And then feed that into an AI system that can help
determine whatever.
And make a judgment around that. It's kind of like that Tom Cruise movie that came out of, what is it, Minority Report?
Where they predict the crime and arrest you before it happens.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I mean, it's very, very strange. So Palantir was funded by Peter Thiel.
Yeah.
Co-founded by Peter Thiel.
And they also have a ton of taxpayer dollars.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing, because he's also interwoven into politics.
Yeah.
We've done an episode on Peter Thiel, so it's worth looking into just to get a primer on who he is, his story, what he's done. But then he was also the first founder in Facebook, which is, you know, something to take note of, especially when you start talking about how you can interweave the surrounding information about a person when making a judgment. And even if it's not something where he has a direct hand in it, because I think he's divested right now, or he's not a chair on the board, but it is important in terms of knowledge and understanding of the campus of what information is out there and what's accessible. But then we bring it back to
Palmer
Luckey and what he's doing with Anduril. And am I saying that right?
I think so. Anduril?
Yeah. And when we were talking about this swarm of networked autonomous bots, go on that a little bit more, because I know that your dad also
yeah, we've done RC flying, we've done drone flying, and I'm not talking like the small DJIs, like I'm talking the
DJIs,
the Phantoms, the small consumer you know, drones that you can buy for $500 to $600. I'm talking the big, you know, big rigs. So you might put, you know, like a movie camera on. I've flown those, and also like the RC helicopters. It's amazing the kind of stuff you can do, especially when that stuff is autonomous, to be able to cover long distances and to be able to, like, attach thermal and other sensors on there, so that if I had maybe 5 of them running all over the city, I'd have a perfect map of the entire city all the time.
So when you say autonomous, walk me through that process of what that's actually like to fly.
Well, for like the most stuff that I've done, the only like autonomous stuff you'd want it to do is like hover in position or return home. Like, those are 2 really common capabilities that the consumer drones have. When we're talking autonomous, this is taking it to another level. This is taking it to, like, okay, I need to make decisions on, okay, how low is my battery? Do I need to go recharge? You know, is there other things happening with my sensors that maybe I'm hearing a gunshot a mile over? Let me fly over there and check it out. Like, doing all that stuff without a human intervening is, I think, the next level of where we're getting to. And a good example of this is Palmer's XPRIZE for the Palisades wildfires. They had an entire project that they proved they could do it, where a robot could go around and look at wildfires and say, okay, this is a wildfire, let me stop it before it spreads, and do it completely autonomously. And they're running into political pushback because there's people whose jobs it is to fight fires.
That's something that we don't talk about enough, and I think it's something that it's important to highlight, because we talk typically about jobs getting replaced in the white collar space,
right?
But when you start looking and peeling back how much advancement is happening on the the drones and the bots.
Yup.
It's incredible. You don't need people to go and risk their lives out there and determine whether or not there's a wildfire, or go fly around, and you can have a bot do that.
But they push for it. These people are pushing to keep their jobs, obviously.
Okay.
And so it's very interesting how that's going to play out. Nobody, wants a military person to go in there and sacrifice their life, but the firefighters want to do it. So it's a very interesting spot to be in with all these autonomous drones coming out.
All right, so why don't we start from the beginnings with Palmer Luckey? I mean, what a name, Palmer Luckey.
There's not like that far in the past of a beginning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But a lot's happened in his short amount of time. So he was he grew up on Long Beach,
California.
And he grew up with his parents. He had 3 younger sisters. He was homeschooled by his mother. His dad was a car salesman, and in his early years, he was just a tinker. I think he's even said, if I wasn't homeschooled, then I probably wouldn't have had the career that I've had. I wouldn't have made the inventions that I've had, because he had the freedom of thought,
right,
then
and
also
time
to actually go and explore his passions, his thoughts, and apply them and build things. And that came along really early when he started building VR systems at home, and this is before like what we have today.
And then the other benefit to being homeschooled is he started college at 14.
Yeah.
It's like there are advantages to doing this stuff early and with intent. Where if that's your trajectory, you can do stuff like this. And then at 14, starting community college, which he eventually enrolled in the actual university. And then, like you said, just started building stuff in his garage.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was until the 6th generation of headset where it actually got out to the world. And that's actually a really important piece of the story, just because it introduces the eventual Oculus CTO, John Carmack. And I think that, when I was going through a lot of my research, was a very pivotal moment.
Okay, talk to me.
So Palmer Luckey was building these headsets in his garage. He got to like that 6th generation, and John Carmack, who's a world-renowned game developer and programmer, asked for a prototype, and then got that prototype and unveiled it at a very large, I think it was E3 conference, showing the entire world this guy's technology. And then from there, kind of just exploded. Everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, like the future is here. We have these AR, VR headsets."
That cosign was crazy.
Yes, and that was such a huge spotlight onto what Palmer was doing, that I think, like I said, pivotal moment in terms of his trajectory.
Yeah, I think it's a great reinforcement too of the idea that build first, builds to a high standard and high quality, and then the opportunities will follow after that.
And then also maybe like solve your own problem. He was frustrated with the crappy technologies that we had, so he's like, I'm just gonna build my own.
He was somebody who like went back and did his homework too on all of the previous VR systems. You could get them for a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Especially because they, like, people had tried but they weren't good, and so they never really took off, and they just became these old relics from previous years and previous decades. But then, in examining them and realizing, oh, this went wrong here, this went wrong here, I'm gonna tinker, I'm gonna build.
Yeah.
He ended up refining his headset using these different pieces to create this what we have today when we look at some of the VR tech. It's crazy.
The Oculus stuff is so cool. Dude, I've used it extensively. It's a lot of fun. It's really, so good.
It really takes you into a different world.
Yes.
And a lot of what he talks about is that transportability, that immersive experience that is what the pinnacle was. Even so much so, and this is skipping ahead a little bit, but so much so that he created a headset that would kill you if you lost in the game, because he said, if you really want to be immersed in the experience, you have to raise the stakes.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. And it's something that when I parallel that with the advancements of AI robots and AI technology, we've talked about this plenty.
Yeah.
I don't think that they get to the level of sophistication, artificial general intelligence, until they have the stakes raised for their own survival, and they're aware that, hey, if I don't complete this task or do this thing,
right,
then my life is on the line. It has to have the concept of a life to really start to get intelligent, because I think when you raise the stakes is really when intelligence starts to raise. And I'll actually give one more context on that. It's because of reasoning. I think when you reason, your reasoning has to rise with the stakes.
That's interesting. I think some people might say that's just existential dread.
Yeah,
You just need to give them existential dread, and then they'll be smarter.
You find out how good the reasoning is when
the stakes are
raised. But navigating back to Palmer Luckey and his passion for developing virtual experiences, augmented experiences, that started early. That was something that he put a lot of time into early, basically reinvigorating the whole field to the point where in 2014, or was it 2016, somewhere in between,
right there,
they were acquired by Facebook for $2.5 billion.
Yes, which Zuckerberg is he's very invested into the AR VR world, and so that makes sense in terms of like that acquisition. It was pretty close to Facebook's IPO though.
It was very close to Facebook's. It was
within 2 years, so. I want to say.
Yeah. When did they IPO? Was that 2012?
I think so.
So he got acquired by 2014. It was 2014.
Yeah.
So he was 21 years old, and I mean he became
a billionaire
at 21 years old, and it speaks to Mark Zuckerberg. Again, we've talked about Mark Zuckerberg plenty on this channel too, but it speaks to Mark Zuckerberg's value of young talent.
Yes.
Because I mean, he was in the same position where he had a generational company at an early age, and he could spot that out. He did that with Instagram, Oculus, and the other major acquisition of WhatsApp.
And he's also put more money into it even after he acquired the company.
Yeah, he said so. Skipping forward a couple years, 2016, Palmer Luckey, being very pro-military and very libertarian, backed Trump.
He did.
And after becoming acquired by a company, you essentially become an employee of that company.
Yeah.
You're operating under those terms. Of course, you have a way bigger pay package, but you end up becoming an employee of that company. And he was obviously in a very left-leaning Silicon Valley at the time. He made a $10,000 donation to a pro-Trump campaign and immediately felt the pressure from within to, one, denounce his views and his stance, and eventually he got fired.
What a wild set of circumstances. That a $10,000 donation to a political party gets you exiled from the company that you started as a teenager.
Right. And the thing
wild.
And what was the funny part about it, calling back to something you said earlier, was he got kicked out, and I saw an interview of him saying, it's funny, Facebook acquired us for $2.5 billion and then ended up spending over $60 billion on the research that we were doing. It seems like we took over Facebook. Renamed the company to Meta.
Yeah.
And it just became a completely different company. But I think it speaks to the technology that he was creating, which was this whole VR space. And it's something that Zuckerberg has made a huge bet on. It's something that we're seeing. I mean, Apple made their Vision Pro version of it. And I think that as we're seeing the technology evolve and become more compact, become more lightweight and dynamic, we're seeing that come to fruition.
Oh, 100%. Even the Meta Ray-Ban glasses are fantastic iteration.
You have a pair, right?
Yeah. A fantastic
those.
Iteration on that AR, VR kind of concept. I mean, putting them into the form factor of glasses, because, obviously the headset kind of big and bulky, and you need a giant battery to power it. With the glasses, it's so slim and it's so nice to use. Eventually it's going to get even slimmer, where they're not going to be as bulky even as much as they are. And the battery's going to last 3 days.
Describe the experience about that. What's your review on the short review on the
Yeah, I mean, so far so good. I mean, obviously it takes pictures and video, And then you also can talk to the glasses in terms of like an AI assistant. Like you might have Google Assistant or Siri. It's the Meta AI that you can talk to, and it can do really basic stuff like start a recording or take a picture or tell me how much battery's left. The recording that I have, it only works up to, I want to say 120 seconds, 150 seconds, just over 2 minutes. So that's not terrible. Most of the stuff that I'm looking at or want to film isn't terribly longer than that, so that's cool. And the quality's pretty good. So I like them all around. I like the iteration of it though, because I think it's just gonna get better and better and better. Longer battery life, just same as like an iPhone. Yeah. It's gonna get slimmer, it's gonna get more durable, it's gonna get longer battery life, and it's gonna get new tech.
Isn't it funny how technology trends towards being more efficient and more optimized?
Yeah.
We can just predict that it's just going to get better. For the most part, right?
Yeah, 100%.
It's very incredible. So something that I saw Palmer Luckey say as well is that he believes that every soldier will have an augmented virtual headset before every civilian does.
And they probably should, right? Like it feels very obvious to me that if you had 2 cameras and a soldier, the soldier should be able to see what the 2 cameras are seeing as well. It just feels like a really natural progression of meshing together all of the systems that we have today for new capabilities.
It's really interesting. I saw the clip of him on the Joe Rogan interview.
Yeah.
Where I haven't seen the full interview. It's something that I'm definitely gonna go down the rabbit hole of. But it was really cool for those who haven't seen it. He put on this headset with these augmented...
helmet, really.
It's a
soldier helmet.
With a battery-powered... I think they had a battery-powered chest plate that was connected to the helmet as well. And he put it on, and then they had these augmented reality glasses. And these glasses were networked with basically all of the information that's coming in from other helmets, other AI drones, the towers, because I mean they have a whole bunch of, and I'll take a quick segue. All of Anduril is held together by this Lattice.
Right.
And the Lattice is basically the AI powered network that ingests data and makes sense of it for the people that are using it, specifically in defense.
Yeah, and it's as near to real time as you can possibly get. That's the advantage of it.
Right. And so he put on this helmet, and when he put on this helmet and these glasses, he was showing Joe Rogan how on the battlefield they use the information from all of them to basically enable soldiers to see things that you can't just see with the naked eye.
Yep.
They infuse thermal data, they infuse the viewpoints of the different soldiers and the different drones to basically enable people to see through walls.
Yeah, that's like the first really obvious thing that's like, okay, what can we do with this? We can see through walls. We can see through buildings. And it's just like, yeah, if another camera can see it, why can't I wire that into your consciousness so you can see it?
So then take it down a little bit further. What are some of the other not so obvious capabilities that come when you start to integrate a networked
I mean, then we get into some stuff that is probably classified, but I haven't signed any documents, so we can talk about them.
Let's get into it.
I mean, like, for people, I mean, these have been vulnerabilities in the technology since they've been built, but with autonomous systems, they can get in there and basically become listening devices. Your webcam at home. I can activate your webcam without you thinking it's on. Now, webcam gives me video, but now it also gives me audio. So let's say you have a bunch of hostages. I can listen to exactly what you're doing. I know exactly where you're at. Using some of these audio waves, if I don't have video, using Wi-Fi waves, because Wi-Fi waves are going to permeate your entire house. With some AI, I can get access to your Wi-Fi router and then use a specific band of Wi-Fi wave to know where you're at in the house. Kind of like echolocation, something like a dolphin would use. But we have technology that the government has that can do that with your Wi-Fi router. So now you start saying, okay, if I can translate an echolocation of a Wi-Fi signal into there's 3 guys in this house, and then translate that into a video feed, so on my helmet I can see there's 3 guys in the house and this is where they're at. I mean, we're getting into a totally different sci-fi world of how threats are engaged, how the military works, and then also like the kind of information that can be meshed together. Like it gets wild, right? And then we're only talking about visible light spectrums. What if we had UV spectrums, thermal spectrums, you know, things that we can't see with the naked eye, all kind of put into your field of view, and fed to your fingertips in terms of, okay, what do you want to do now? With all this information, what do you want to do now?
It's all about context, creating context and making sense of that context.
Yeah, and on the battlefield, it's the most important.
And that's the thing, it might sound a little scary. I think Palmer Luckey would say that's the point.
Okay.
When he was asked about killer robots, he said, I love killer robots. But I think the way that he's approaching it, this is his mindset, from what I've been able to determine, is he believes that, one, having the best technology is a strong deference to, or defers violence. And it's part of what he believes, that it's part of what keeps the peace. And so he's very pro-military in that regard.
I also think everybody should be. I as I'm saying that, I think everyone should be.
I am, because I've seen, been in countries that are war torn. I've been in countries that are great, and I can't remove from my mind the impact of having a strong presence that is capable
of violence.
That is capable, but is controlled. It's powerful, but doesn't always have to display its strength, because I think that's just the reality of the world. That's my view. But I'm also realistic to understand that that's not the view of a lot of people.
Oh, I understand it's not the view of a lot of people. I just think they're wrong. I'm not sure what kind of worldview you might have where the person that doesn't have the biggest stick isn't the ruler. Like, it's a very archaic, or I guess like a very old school way of looking at things, but like, even if the technology gets better, it's still just a bigger stick. Like, I'm not.
I think so. I mean, this is an interesting discussion, because I think a lot of it stems from an abuse of power, in terms of what makes someone go, hey, I think I don't like that. And I also think it's it stems from a root of being scared of violence, and what that can lead to in the wrong hands.
Oh, and I 100% agree, and I acknowledge those things, but I still don't see how any amount of preparation or any amount of thinking is going to protect you if the guy with the big stick comes and says, I want your lunch money. You know what I mean? Like, at some point, it reduces down to who's going to get to take my lunch money. And if I think that I'm either passive, or I'm going to think my way out of things, I feel like there's a very real possibility that's like, I can't think my way out of everything, and the guy with the big stick is going to come hurt me. And that's what I have to be prepared for.
And it's a lot of his main philosophy is around this idea that, hey, if it's not us, that's as us being America,
right,
that is developing a lot of these technologies and weapons. And this comes at a very relevant time, given that we don't have to go too far into the time stamping this or time marking this, but it is, I think, relevant in the sense that if his thought is that if America doesn't have the best weapons in place, then that poses a real threat to the order of things, the world order that we currently experience as a superpower. And I think that's I don't want to say like undervalued, but maybe it is like undervalued, underappreciated, that people that live in America don't realize the amount of force that we use to stay in power and keep the peace that's had in America. I mean, again, I've been to plenty of countries that have not had the infrastructure of America, and I don't think that comes. It's a couple things. Is one, I think that America is very protected, not just from the military presence, but then also the governing structures and systems that have been put around America, and to basically hold this up. And I think that the military is there to protect the institution of America and the freedoms that we have here. Because I've seen in other areas also run by military. I mean, it's just human nature. When you have people that have differing views, and you have one party that really loves that or is religious about one view, and I don't mean religious in this terms of faith, but I mean religious in terms of ritualistic
zeal,
belief, etc., then you're going to run into situations where you butt heads. And I think we have something here that is undervalued in a lot of ways, in terms of being able to speak freely, being able to practice your beliefs, that isn't present in other areas. And I think if we don't make an effort to protect that, then it can quickly deteriorate. What I've seen when that deteriorates is not pretty, and it's not a world that I would like to live in. I think it's a place where you're ruled by fear, and I don't like that. And so that's my viewpoint, in the sense that I believe that, you know, military, the American military and the strength that America's military has is an important aspect of keeping the peace. But I can see why there might be fear of an abuse of that power when those systems are in place. But I would go even further to say that there's no other system in the world or in history that I've seen that has better managed the power that's been in America.
That's
in terms of checks and balances, in terms of the rotation of power, in terms of having the strength, but then also being able to find other means, to having the strength, but then being able to have other means of enforcing it. But I think that diplomacy is only capable when people take you as a viable threat when you choose to act. I think that this is largely, and just tying it back to Palmer Luckey, I think that this is largely his ethos and his mindset in terms of why he's building products in this way.
And that's why I would extend on that and say everyone in America should be pro-American force in the world in terms of a superpower. And I think it only comes with, like you said, the threat of a force, and that force has to be superior. And so, like, with that stuff, the other thing I've seen is Palmer state specifically that these kinds of improvements that they're making to these weapon systems are actually not are actually like in that vein of keeping people accountable. For instance, like if you had a landmine in the Vietnam War, the landmine doesn't know the difference between a tank and a bus full of kids. It's just a heavy object that put on top of me, I'm gonna explode. With AI, that landmine can say, oh, this is a bus, let me not explode. This is a tank, let me get that. And so, like, now you have an era of AI making more and more of these decisions that lets us keep a lethal force, but do it in a way that we know is not gonna harm civilians. So it's actually even better.
That's so interesting. The use case that you presented makes total sense. Two thoughts that come to mind when we say that. One is there's always, again, the two sides of power. Yes, it can prevent all these issues where we're just doing these things blindly and dumb in a lot of ways.
Just didn't have the AI to do it, you know?
But then now we have this situation where, okay, well, what if somebody goes rogue when they have the control of those weapons? But again, I mean, this technology is here. It's more about how we handle it and what we do with it, and less about let's just pretend like it doesn't exist, because it does exist, and other countries are developing them and trying to develop them to get their own edge. But the other thought that came to mind is, if you really feel that strongly about it, get into it. Like, go and invest and learn about it and make a difference that way. Don't try to pretend like it doesn't exist and legislate it away like it doesn't exist, because that's not the answer. The answer is to take your brain power and show how much you care beyond just a display, and go and develop the technologies and make something, to make something that is more in alignment with the protocols that you think should be there. And I think the difficult thing about that is when you go and build something, you start to realize the game theory around it.
And what do you mean by that?
And how difficult it is to say, okay, well, because you have to make those decisions.
Yeah.
You have to make those decisions to say, okay, do we choose to ignore it? Okay, well then what if another system has that?
Yep.
Well, then that means that we can't do it. Okay, so then how do we program these things? Do we leverage AI? Oh, okay, we'll have to learn a little bit more about how artificial intelligence works. Oh, okay. Now, so when you start doing that, and you start realizing the capability and what you're able to prevent, then that becomes a big thing. So one thing that he's very passionate about, I know a lot of people are against this, and not against it, I'll say it's a very divisive issue.
Okay.
I think because of how it's been portrayed by the media.
What's that?
And this is border surveillance.
Oh.
And enforcing borders. He has these towers that are AI powered.
That's I love this because I don't think it's controversial at all, but I want to hear what you have to say about it.
And so I say controversial in the sense that it's been made an issue by media. I think when we see things like the ICE interactions, again, I'm dating this a lot, but when we see things like the ICE interactions, and when we see things like commentary on how it's being handled politically, it takes the stuff that we do with our technology in terms of enforcing border patrols gets coupled into those discussions as being one or the other side. But I think when you actually get down to it, of course, the technology is there to just say, hey, we have a border and we want to be able to understand who's crossing it, how they're crossing it, and we want to be able to use AI systems to enforce that and basically be able to understand that.
So, yeah.
But you were saying that you don't think it's controversial. What do you mean by that?
There's two very, very, very different things there. And it happened in the last sentence. Awareness and enforcement. To me, those are completely separate.
Okay.
Anduril, with Palmer Luckey's technology, gives us awareness. Because right now, with the thousands of lines of border that we have on the north and the south of the United States, we have no idea the amount of things that are going from our country to Mexico and Canada, and the things that are coming from them into the United States. It's such a big border.
Everything from drug trafficking, child trafficking, which is a huge issue that we don't talk about nearly enough. Somehow it keeps getting swept under the rug. And another thing too is it's not just walking back and forth over the line. It's tunnels. It's, cloak and cover, all these different things where people have been able to trick and circumvent people, but it's harder to do that when you have different systems that
when you have autonomous systems that are 24/7 surveillance, air, land, and sea. You know what I mean? Like, we start getting into the spot where Anduril, what they're providing is awareness. We were blind before, and now we can see. The enforcement is, all right, who's in power, which administration's controlling the border, and how do they want to take action now that they have the awareness? But I can guarantee you, we should have the awareness. No matter what your political view are, if you're blind and then making decisions, you're obviously not making them with all the information you could possibly have. And so it's just a bad decision.
What did Dan Gilbert say? What's that first ism?
Well, which one?
Always be raising your level of awareness.
Hey, I mean, just common sense, right?
On what podcast do you go from talking about, especially business podcasts, do you go from talking about war technologies to beauty technologies? I mean, we've talked about the range to marketing, Ogilvy, Estee Lauder. Now we're talking about Palmer Luckey. It's just the spectrum, but I think that there's these through lines that you see between all of them that just becomes really interesting. But I agree, raising your level of awareness is key, and I think I never made that distinction, but it makes a lot of sense in the space of, hey, we can bring more clarity to what's happening in these areas, so that way we can make more intelligent decisions, and we don't have to make blanket decisions that might affect people that we don't necessarily need to be.
And to be fair, even with that information, they probably still make the wrong decision. But hey, at least we can say they had all the information at the time.
Well, there's also what is it? It's a spectrum. It's not trying to solve the whole problem at once.
Of course.
It's if we can make improvements, then that's better overall. And if we can move in that direction, then it's better.
You know what
overall.
else I thought was really funny? Was when he mentioned, he's like, yeah, we're tracking smuggling and stuff like trafficking happening across the border, but not just in one way. We're actually capturing it happening in both ways. Where people are actually smuggling stuff out of the U.S. into Mexico and into Canada.
No kidding.
And so, like, he's like, yeah, we're just getting more information. We're getting more aware of what's actually happening. This is not a one-way street. This is actually a two-way street, a highway almost. And so it's very interesting in terms of that stuff. But
okay, so I want to project into the future a little bit. And I want to get
I had
your
a question
thoughts.
too for that.
Well, okay, well, I'm curious. I'm curious in your space. Where do you see some of these technologies going towards? Like, where do you see Palmer Luckey's future? How do you imagine his future?
I'm really, really excited about this because something that Palmer's talked about a little bit before is the unidentified aerial phenomenon, UFO kind of thing.
Okay.
And it's very real, right? Because there is something happening. I don't claim to know what it is. I don't claim to have any information beyond what is publicly available, but something is happening. Either something that the government doesn't want us to know about, something that they're not aware about, something. There's enough information and evidence that there are things that are flying in our airspace, in our seas, that we haven't seen the technology publicly. And so Palmer has the sci-fi mind to imagine how to plug and play the different technologies that we do have to get to that level. And so I'm really excited about that, but I'm also really excited that he's actually expressed strategy around this, where he believes that you have to build the American technology path and this extraterrestrial technology path in parallel, because you can't just wait around and wait for this technology just to be given to us and then everything's going to be solved.
No, but you'd have to invent the future.
Everybody thinks that like the future's just going to be here, it's going to be better. It's like, no, people actually have to build it. That's something Elon says. People actually have to build the future. And I feel like Palmer is one of those people that's going to have his hand on the pulse of these new kinds of technologies and these new kinds of ways of doing things that will permeate the rest of society. Because if you can take that technology and then say, okay, I mean, at the highest level, let's say we have some kind of gravity affecting device. Okay. That's life changing.
Okay, just go into that a little bit more for me. Help me bridge that gap a little bit more.
I mean, in
terms of what are the
kinds of technologies that we're seeing mean that you could, let's say, distort gravity fields. If you can distort gravity fields, you can make free energy. You can make electromagnetic.
When you say distort gravity fields, though, break that down for me in terms of what we've seen.
So what we've seen,
and what that
and like nobody has like a real explanation for it, but the kinds of symptoms that we've seen, right, are aerial craft being able to change direction, going Mach 10, and be able to change on a dime. Being able to go from an aerial craft to a submersible craft without splashing into the water, without any kind of signature that you went underwater, right? It's doing something that's allowing it to move through the medium of the world without interacting with that medium. It's very interesting. This is,
and you have to have a different brain that pushes for developing these types of technologies.
And just thinking about how it's even possible. I mean, the kinds of things you can do with gravity waves means you can affect electromagnetic spectrums, which means you can actually generate free electricity.
And so how do you think Palmer Luckey lines up with developing some of these technologies? Do you think it's just like, hey, he's a smart guy that's happens, or do you think there's something specific in what he's building and the information he's getting?
Because he's a defense products company, he has classified intel on what the U.S. has recovered, is trying to do, and all these kinds of things. And so
it's more of an intel thing then.
Taking that knowledge and that sci-fi framing that I know he has, and then saying, I have enough money to try this myself, is I think where we're going to actually see that declassification of some of those technologies to the actual civilian population.
So you already think that we have those technologies, it's just about him?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously do. We have something that's not publicly...
I don't know about... There might be some information on it, but he said in one of his presentations, I think it was a TED presentation,
Mm-hmm.
he said the technology in a Snapchat filter, the augmented reality technology in a Snapchat filter is more advanced than some of the military technology.
100%, 100%.
The AI in a Roomba
is
better than some police technology.
100%.
And so I don't know how much we have, but I think what's really interesting in terms of getting to this space where, okay, people have reported seeing these technologies officially.
Yeah.
So there's something there.
Something.
But he talks about, or what he's been doing is he's not only been taking different video feeds and saying, hey, we're going to stitch these together to give you a better insight of what's on the other side of that wall. He's doing it on different spectrums.
That's true
to
too.
synthesize what's actually happening in the most real sense. And that's what's really interesting, is what ends up being revealed when we go further and further and gather more and more information and try to synthesize the full picture of what's actually happening in a especially with AI, which is predictive by nature. And so if we give it more and more context about what's happening, not just, you know, in the battlefields, but then we start to go and expand the radius of context further and further out, it's okay, what questions can we ask, and where does that lead us to?
100%. I think the number one spot that I want to see Palmer Luckey's technology being used right now is the Skinwalker Ranch. For anyone who doesn't know, there's a ranch out in, I think it's Nevada or somewhere around there, that it's called the Skinwalker Ranch. You can look it up. They did a whole series on it. But basically it's this place where crazy things are happening. They bring all of this really advanced technology out there, and then one by one, all this tech fails. For some reason or another, full batteries are now dead. Drones falling out of the sky. Things that you can't explain are happening in this ranch. And I would love to see these kinds of technologies that Palmer has used to give us more intel and context to be able to ask those questions.
It's like the Bermuda Triangle.
100%.
I've never heard about the Skinwalker Ranch.
You should absolutely check it out.
I'm gonna have to now. I'm curious. I want to know a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the question that you said that you had?
Yeah, I was going to be in the same vein of like, where do you think Palmer and his company is going to be in 10 years? Where would you like to see him be in 10 years?
One thing I know,
which is only like a third of his life, by the way.
Right. Well, one thing I know, which has always fascinated me, and we've talked about this in the past, is he said that he wants to take the cognitive and visual capabilities of humans to the next level. And that's something that's really, really curious to me, is what does it look like when we have all these capabilities and we can essentially see the world in just a more, I don't know if deep is the right word.
You know, it's funny.
In another, from different dimensions, like what's uncovered when that happens and we have all those capabilities.
One of his pet projects right now, which is why I shouldn't say pet projects, is uplifting animals.
This uplifting and okay, that's something we talked about too, isn't it?
I don't know if we talked about it, but it's something he's very passionate about. He's trying to get Peter Diamandis to do an XPRIZE around leveling up dogs, cats, whales, dolphins to speak English. And the whole theory is that not only would that be cool, you can tell, hey, I have a bad stomach, or I don't like this food, whatever. Like, that's the cool stuff. The more esoteric stuff is the fact that maybe aquatic life like whales and dolphins and alligators that have been around since the dinosaurs actually have oral history like we have oral history. Imagine the oral history that a crocodile might have that's been around for 500 million years. And if they had oral history, how could we get into, how could we understand that history? And maybe they have secrets that we just don't even know about. That's some crazy stuff.
I mean, that's absolutely fascinating. There's this account that I watch, and this is very rudimentary, but we can build up.
Sure.
There's this account that I follow, and it's this woman who made this soundboard for her dog.
I like it. I know exactly what you're talking about. The buttons.
And she trained her dog to
very popular.
hit certain buttons when the dog wants certain things. And I'm sure more dogs are using this now. But it's amazing how the dog has learned how to pattern match.
Yes.
So that's the first aspect of it. But when you start taking that to another level, obviously we know that there's some type of processing going on.
Right.
There's some type of thinking. I mean, if we started to label AI processing thinking, I think that we can label
a bird or a cat.
Yeah. There's some processing going on. And so part of it is matching their actions and their gestures and their behaviors to a way that we can interpret that, because really it's more of an interpretation problem than it is. I think that it is a leveling up problem, at least if we want to get them to be able to communicate with us more. And there are definitely different projects, but I didn't know that was something that he did.
No, he wants to do it. He's pushing Peter to do an XPRIZE around it.
Okay.
It's a little bit weird in the ethics and the morality because of the way you might do this would be like bioengineering and like, you know, putting living beings under surgery to do these kinds of things is a little bit on the gray area. But
Elon did that with Neuralink.
The Russians that did it in the 70s, they glued two dogs together. Like, it's happened. It's just one of these things that if you have the XPRIZE, which is crowdfunding essentially hundreds of millions of dollars for these futuristic projects, you may or may not get the kinds of funding that he knows he needs, if that's your goal, right? But again, it may very well happen, and I think it will happen.
I wonder if you could do that in a non-invasive way first.
That's the goal, right?
Because that's the approach that Meta's taken to a lot of these brain and reality technologies, is how do we do this from a non-invasive way? And I mean, they're finding a lot of progress in being able to do that.
The muscles and stuff,
But I'm very curious about that with animals, because they have these perspectives and they also see and experience different things. They communicate with each other too, let alone just over the time period, but in terms of just their experience of reality while they're on this planet with us. And so leveling up animals is something that's you know, it's mind-blowing when you think about it.
It's and to even have the thought of, oh, if we did that, do they also have an oral history that has been passed down? Or do they have stories in their culture? Do they have a culture? What does that look like?
I mean, I think we'd be shocked to see what that uncovers. And I also know that would break some people's brains, because you have some people that are very against. I mean, imagine this: the guy who is creating the latest war artifacts is also saying we should level up our animals. I mean, to me, it's so interesting seeing him. I just keep thinking Iron Man when I think of him.
A lot of that is
and him in the overlay with Elon Musk is also really incredible. One thing that's really been interesting to me is when you start to, so there's leveling up the people, and I think the combination of leveling up people and our capabilities in this new world where we have artificial intelligence bots and we're starting to expand beyond Earth, paints a picture that is from a science fiction.
But also, like, that's the kind of America and the kind of Earth that I want to live in. This is the kind of this is the time period that I want to be alive in when we're doing all these cool things. You know, gives me a lot of hope and just like gratitude, I think, to be in this time period, experiencing this stuff.
What a time to be alive.
You know, I think it's one of the best times to be alive.
You want to jump into Super Secret?
I think we should.
All right. Yo, it's been good. Find us on
week.
Super Secret on constants.com/foundersdrive, where you can get a link to all of our other socials, where you can get a link to the community, and where you can get the deeper discussions that we go into after we record these initial episodes. We're not going to be having those Super Secret episodes open for much longer, so join the community early and we will be paying attention to that. Otherwise, catch you on the other side.
Peace.
Peace.